Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear friends, brothers and sisters. I pray you're all well. Okay, let's resume. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وامنحنا يا ربنا علما وعملا وقربا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أكرمنا ولا تهنا وأعطنا ولا تحرمنا وآثرنا ولا تؤثر علينا وأرضنا وارض عنا يا كريم. So Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, we started Surah Al-A'raf last time, and one of the last things we looked at was when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about these people who in previous times had rejected the prophets and the message of the prophets, and instead of wholeheartedly and assiduously following the message that the prophets came with from God, as we said is the theme of the surah, instead of doing that, they went the other way. They rejected them, and people vary, and just like with believers, you have people who have a lukewarm attitude towards the religion. You have some who are not bothered at all, and some who would, sell themselves for God. Right. In the same way with the disbelievers, you have those who, they're just not interested. They don't want to listen. They don't care. And then you have those who are opposed, but they won't be actively antagonistic. And then you have the imams of shar, the imams of evil, who do everything they can to oppose the prophets and the messengers. So these people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَمَا كَانَ جَوَابُهُمْ فَمَا كَانَ دَعْوَاهُمْ إِذْ جَاءَهُمْ بَأْسُنَا إِلَّا أَنْ قَالُوا إِنَّا كُنَّا ظَالِمِينَ. So the only thing they could end up saying when the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala arrived and reached them is they said, we were wrongdoers. Right? They have to admit their wrongdoing and their faults and flaws. Meaning that they recognize that they deserve this punishment. Now obviously the admission at that point is so the punishment may be lifted from them, but they do admit it and they do recognize it. And we'll see a similar scenario on the Day of Judgment. فَاعْتَرَفُوا بِذَنْبِهِمْ. They will recognize and admit their sins. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now takes, so that's from Surah Al-Mulk. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now saying that this is what they say, they admit their sins when the punishment comes to them in the dunya. Then now instantly were transported to the akhirah to show this isn't the end of the story. It's not a case of prophets come, you choose to believe or disbelieve, and whatever happens after that is finished. No, it's not the end of the story, because the prophets come to point us to the akhirah, to tell us that the akhirah is more certain and real than this life that we're living. So your choices and how you respond to the guidance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends, and whether people believe or disbelieve, it has implications in the akhirah. So then next we have this verse, and I can honestly, this verse, it just fills the reader. Like, if you understand it in Arabic and if you understand the words and the meanings and the nuances, honestly, just right, this verse and the verse after, wow, right? It says, فَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الَّذِينَ أُرْسِلَ إِلَيْهِمْ. Honestly, I feel like my chest is going to explode. It's just so powerful. It's just so full of confidence, I could say, but not just confidence, power, supremacy, authority. It's clear Allah is speaking, right? فَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الَّذِينَ أُرْسِلَ إِلَيْهِمْ وَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. This is why the Arabs chose to fight the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for years, because they couldn't replicate this, right? He said, by God, we will surely, let's look at the translation, we will surely question those who received the messengers, and we will question the messengers themselves. He said, فَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ. So as a result, now following on, right, they got the initial punishment in the dunya. Now in the akhirah, when the matter is really going to be settled, the royal we is used, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then so consequently, surely فَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الَّذِينَ أُرْسِلَ إِلَيْهِمْ, we will surely, absolutely, undoubtedly we will be asking those to whom the messengers were sent. Right? What will they say? Did the messengers come? So obviously it's not going to be a question of their crimes. Right? That's done, that's known, because they've admitted it and they were punished for them. Rather, it's going to be a questioning, why did you do them? Right? And sometimes that can be asked, did you disbelieve? You can ask it in a way that implies that the questioner knows the answer, but he's getting at something else. He said, فَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ, so as a result, their own actions, their choices, so we will certainly be asking those to whom the messengers were sent. الَّذِينَ أُرْسِلَ إِلَيْهِمْ, what will he ask? Why did you reject the messengers? Why did you not accept the message that God sent? It was for your benefit. Why did you reject it and call it a lie? Why? Right? فَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الَّذِينَ أُرْسِلَ إِلَيْهِمْ. And the question is not for information. The question is a tabkeet, as we say in Arabic. The question is a criticism, to censure and blame them. And this, in front of everyone who exists, is enough of a humiliation. But when it is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the angels speaking on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what they're going to respond with, honestly, just the verse here in Arabic just is full of so much authority. When it's really posed to them, what are they going to say? وَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الْمُرْسَلِينَ, and he said, and we will surely, certainly, decidedly ask the messengers, those who were sent to these people, what happened? Did you deliver the message? And they will say yes. Right? So the admission or the affirmation of the messengers, when they ask, did you deliver the message, is going to fill these people with more fear. The messengers are speaking the truth. Allah knows He's resurrected everyone, so which proves that they were speaking the truth there, and now they're speaking the truth here, even though they knew in the dunya the messenger spoke the truth. And now all those threats and punishments that they were warning us of, we're going to have to face them. وَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. And he's saying this, we will certainly ask those to whom the messengers were sent, and we will certainly ask the messengers. And then the next verse is even more powerful than this. فَلَنَقُصَّنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ بِعِلْمٍ. Just listen to the qaf, which is a harf of isti'la. You got to lift the back of your tongue. Then the sad, where you lift the back in the middle of your tongue, isti'la and itbaq. And then the noon with the shadda. So these noons, فَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ, in the previous verse, in this verse, فَلَنَقُصَّنَّ. This noon is the noon of emphasis, and it suffices, for that. It's there. It's not part of the word, but it really adds weight and power. And you can get any old words, and anyone can say something, a stick a noon of emphasis on, right? But the way the Quran does it, and just the words, the choice, as soon as it's from the Quran, it's like amazing. So he says, so فَلَنَقُصَّنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ بِعِلْمٍ وَمَا كُنَّا غَائِبِينَ. Then we will give them a full account with sure knowledge, for we were never absent. Wow, this is. And the Meccan surahs are very much like this, full of this power and majesty, and short sentences but powerful in their delivery. So he says, فَلَنَقُصَّنَّ, the royal we, and qassa al-athar, to follow something, or it was later used to tell a story, but with all the details. So Allah is saying, فَلَنَقُصَّنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ, we will tell them, we will, with intimate and intricate detail, tell them what they did when the messengers came, how they behaved, how they rejected, what their responses were, all of that. Not only that, all of the other crimes in their lives and all the other rejection, everything. فَلَنَقُصَّنَّ. the noon gives it this royal V, and then the qaf and the sad. فَلَنَقُصَّنَّ. It's, I don't know, I can't get enough of it. Alayhim, and then he says bi'ilmin. So if it wasn't enough for him to say we will give a detailed account from this word naqussanna, and alayhim, it will be recited to them, literally over them, but to them, he uses bi'ilmin, with tremendous, indescribable, accurate, perfect knowledge. We will recite this to them with such perfect knowledge. Meaning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that, and just look at the fact that this ilmin is indefinite, ilmin. It just further adds to this with a knowledge which is indescribable, unimaginable, perfect beyond our understanding. With that supreme, special, amazing, fantastic, perfect knowledge, we will give them a full account of everything. So it's a full account, but if it comes from this perfect knowledge, then it's going to be, as detailed as it can be. It's going to be as accurate as it can be. وَمَا كُنَّا غَائِبِينَ, and we were certainly not absent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. Now this is a kinaya. You can understand this in a couple of ways. It says we were not absent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in a place, because He's created all places, and it's inconceivable to affirm a place for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So He's not in a place. Some of the ulama then use verses like this, or in verses like the verse in Surah An-Nisa, وَهُوَ مَعَهُمْ إِذْ يُبَيِّتُونَ مَا لَا يَرْضَى مِنَ الْقَوْلِ. Like Imam al-Alusi says that there's a witness, Allah is with us in a way that suits His perfection. So He's not in a place. And so some of the ulama express it like this. Others said all of these verses that refer to Allah being with us, or these sorts of things, inni ma'akuma, saying to Sayyidina Musa and Harun, go, I'm with you, that they either refer to His knowledge or His support and strengthening of someone, depending on the context, right? But however you look at it, right? And so he's saying we were not absent. Also it's used in the plural, we were not absent for the supreme majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you can also you can understand it. It's a kinaya, as Ibn Ashur he puts it that it's as though it's equating someone who's present with someone who knows. So if someone was stood here right now and he saw me sat here, he saw me lift my hands up like this, and he's present, so he can see, so he's in the know. Whereas someone who's absent cannot see, so he's not in the know. So it's as though he's in a way saying that we know every single thing, but because he's indicated that once, explicitly affirmed it with His perfect knowledge, the second time in the verse, He's done it a third time. In this way of saying, it's as though that He's saying, I was present, I saw it all, I know it all. Right? وَمَا كُنَّا غَائِبِينَ, we weren't absent. So someone who's not absent is present, and they see, they know, they're aware of everything. That's the issue. Right? It's really beautifully and eloquently, articulately put. Right? So where are they going to go? What are they going to say? What's the excuse for it? There is no excuse. Right? They can't make an excuse on the Day of Judgment. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then said another powerful verse. Even just the use of the word wasn't right at the beginning. وَالْوَزْنُ يَوْمَئِذٍ الْحَقُّ فَمَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. The weighing on that day will be just, Allah justice. As for those whose scale will be heavy with good deeds, only they will be the successful, right? So here he's saying al-waznu. Wazn, it can mean the weight of something, but here what it means, it's the means by which something is weighed. But I think it has this nuance. In fact, it's probably stronger, saying that the criterion, the standard by which things will be weighed and measured and assessed on that day is al-haq. That's the strongest way, right? So there's a number of positions on this, that our deeds will be weighed. So that's one position. And So how will they be? Like they'll be created in the form of something, or the book of deeds that we have. These scrolls or these pieces of paper that have everything written of what we did, they will be weighed, and the scales will either go down or go up, right? So that's the standard, right? That's one position. And so this is the dominant position. The majority of the ulama have said this, that there will be an actual scale and there will be the weighing of things. And as for our actions that don't exist anymore, for example, you prayed Salat al-Fajr this morning, where's that prayer gone? There were movements done by yourself and they're gone now. Like you can't really, it's like, it's different to, say, someone building a mosque. The mosque is there, right? But the action of giving the money, that's gone. The action of the people putting the bricks, that action's gone, even though the effect of that action remains. So some of the ulama said that that we know from the hadith that said the Quran will come to intercede for someone's recitation of the Quran, their fasting, these sorts of things. So they say that Allah will create these things in a physical form, recreate them in a physical form. So and there's other ahadith. For example, there's a famous hadith al-Bitaqa, which is in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, where the Prophet told us about someone, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about a man who came with nothing. He had 99 scrolls of bad deeds. All the bad stuff that could have been done, he did. And the angels open them up and they just open up and they just roll out to the horizon. They're weighed, and then he's asked, do you have anything good? And he says, no. But then he said that, no, you do. Right, and no one's going to be wrong that day. So they bring a bitaqa. Bitaqa, I mean, you could compare it to a sticky price label, like the labels they have on tins of food and things like that in stores. Those something of that size, and on it said with sincerity. He said it with sincerity once in his life. He said the shahada, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. So he said that, and that's placed on the other side, and the bad is so heavy that the bad deeds, those scrolls fly up, meaning the worth of iman, it shows, right? And there's more that could be said about this hadith, like why he committed those sins. Allah knows best, but but that's the point. There's another position of the ulama. This is weaker, but it's worth mentioning, that they say no, it doesn't mean that there'll be actual weighing, but what it means is that the judgment will be absolutely perfectly just. No one will be able to criticize it, and that's also true. But the first position is stronger. There will be actual weighing. So he says waznu. So the weighing, or I think the standard by which things are weighed and decided on that day. Yawma idhin. And what does this word do? This word is interesting, yawma idhin, because it brings back everything mentioned before. So in the previous verses, where Allah says He will ask those who the messengers were sent to, He'll ask the messengers. And then in the next verse, what we just where He'll tell them everything He knows with His deep knowledge. All of that is all reiterated by this word yawma idhin. So the standard, the criterion, you could say, or on that day, the standard, on the criterion, the standard by which things are measured, on the day when everyone's going to be asked, when the messengers will be asked, and those people who the messenger was sent to will be asked, and then Allah will tell them all in detail what they did. On that day is al-haqq, that which is right and true, right? So it's the absolute truth and what's right and fitting and in line with the wisdom of Allah. It's the absolute truth, nothing else. So there'll be no unjust judgments, hasha. There'll be nothing that anyone could object to or question. Everyone they see, they'll say this is right, this is wise, and this is fitting, it's perfectly just. That's the absolute criterion and standard on that day. Wal waznu yawma idhinil haqq. It's really powerful, especially with the yawma idhin, and then we make the idhin attached to al-haq, yawma idhinil haqq. It's really powerful, the speed at which that happens, and then just stopping on the haqq really emphasizes the supreme standard on that day is the absolute truth. Faman, so then what's going to happen? So the result, فَمَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. So mawazin is either the plural of mizan, the scales, right? Or it's a plural of mawzoon, something which is weighed, right? One of these two. So whoever's actions that are weighed, or scrolls that are weighed, or the scales when they're weighing are heavy, right? فَأُولَٰئِكَ, then those amazing, fantastic people, high, lofty people who did good deeds that had tremendous worth. Remember that. The good that you do has great worth in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even someone just giving a few pennies to, a poor person, it has great worth in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these people who do the opposite, their batil, it has no worth at all. All the falsehood, they could, whether they, go to war against empires, or, they build grand cathedrals to, in the name of falsehood, or whatever they think it has no worth and value on the Day of Judgment, right? And, because only what's right and fitting and true with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the good, that's what matters, right? So this is what is whoever's good deeds that are weighed, or the scales are then heavy, which they go down, then those people who have these qualities, who've done all of this good and everything, humul muflihun, they themselves and only them are the people who are truly successful. They've carved out a path. Falh is to split the ground, before planting season. So they've carved out a path to success. They took the guidance and they put all the effort and might and main into following it. These people are the ones who are truly successful. There are the other category, people who are greater than this, who have no judgment. Maybe their good deeds will be weighed so they can get rewarded for them. But there's people who won't even get judged, right? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ, and whoever's scales are light. Why? Because what they did of the bad is worthless. Or they may have done good, but it was coupled with disbelief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so it has no value, right? And in all the things they do against, whether it's burning the Quran or anything, and they think that they're actually achieving something, they're not. It has no value. The Quran will remain until Allah lifts it, just before the end of time, and we'll hear the Quran in paradise. Yet their actions, they're over, and they will be over. And guess what? They'll have to answer for them, and then there's a destination. If they don't believe and repent, then there's a destination that's not going to be very pleasant. So he says, فَأُولَٰئِكَ, those people who are low and vile because of these actions that they choose, الَّذِينَ خَسِرُوا أَنفُسَهُم, are those who have lost themselves. This, it's almost like he's using business terminology. The capital that they have themselves, their souls, their lives, this opportunity, it's like a father giving, his 3 sons some money. Here, go invest in a business individually, or invest in some trade. And, or let's say 2 sons, and one invests it well, and he may not have anything in the short term, but in the long term, he gets a lot. And then the other one, he just blows it on having fun right now. And then in the long term, he's lost out. He's going to be struggling when the others is successful. So they are the ones who have just lost their own self, anfusahum. Why? Bima kanu, because of bima kanu, because of what they kept on continuously, bi ayatina yadhlimun, wrongfully denying our signs. So yadhlimun is to wrong something, do dhulm over and over and over again, and this is different for everything. So the dhulm towards the signs of Allah is to reject them. So what's actually implied is also another word that's implied in Arabic, bima kanu yakdhibuna bi ayatina yadhlimun. Right, so you can read it like that, as Abu Saud puts it, that there's an implied statement that they kept calling the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lies, and they did dhulm towards the signs of Allah, the verses of Allah and the revelation, because the appropriate response there would have been belief and following, not what they did. But this is what they've done, so their scales are not heavy. There's no worth to what they've done, even if they did good. What's the good of, okay, there's good in it in intrinsic sense, that say helping an old lady across the road, great, there's good in it like that, but don't expect anything from God if you're rejecting God, saying God doesn't exist, or hasha, where people, hurl abuse and insults towards him, a'udhu billah, right? So what can they expect then, right? Nothing pleasant. So then he says, addresses all humanity. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the people of Makkah and humanity of the blessing He's given them. So it's as though He's saying, look, you see the scenario now. People have rejected, guidance has come, people have rejected. This is, the way of Allah, the sunnah of Allah. And then consequently, there's two types of people. Those who accept it, they do good deeds, and that's what happens. And then there's those who do bad deeds, and they're going to get a punishment. So consequently, think about where you are. Think about the situation Allah's put you in. Look at the blessings He's giving you right now. And then look at the opportunity of guidance that you have, follow it. And then from here we go into the story of Adam and alayhi salatu wasalam and Iblis. And Iblis was from the jinn, but he was raised up to be with the angels. Yet he didn't look at that blessing, and he was deluded by his worship and whatever, thinking he's superior to Sayyidina Adam, when Allah had given Sayyidina Adam superiority, and that's what led to his downfall. So then he says, وَلَقَدْ مَكَّنَّاكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, by God, we have established you on earth. وَجَعَلْنَا لَكُمْ فِيهَا مَعَايِشْ. Right? This word is indefinite. So many means of livelihood, provided you with many means of livelihood. قَلِيلًا مَا تَشْكُرُونَ. And you can understand this in various ways, but yet you seldom give thanks, or you rarely give thanks, which is same in English, or you don't give thanks. So he said, وَلَقَدْ, by God, truly, we, the royal we, is a tremendous action. Just think, Allah created Adam alayhi salatu wasalam and Hawa, and from them their offspring spread throughout earth. Now, wherever you go, on practically every landmass, probably with the exception of Antarctica, there's people, and there's hugely populated areas and cities and civilizations, and that have gone, our civilization now, and just what wonders Allah has allowed us as human beings to achieve on the planet. Bridges that cross vast stretches of water, buildings that reach up to the sky, going into space and going to pretty deep into the ocean. All of these things Allah has given us. So He said, we've established you on earth, given you the means of supremacy and dominance on earth. وَجَعَلْنَا لَكُمْ فِيهَا مَعَايِشْ, and we've made for you on it many means of sustenance and provision and food and drink and everything that's needed, whether it's from the iron ore that people find and fashion into tools, to the animals that Allah has provided, to the capabilities He's taught people to grow and make food and to survive. قَلِيلًا, just even the sound, قَلِيلًا مَا تَشْكُرُونَ. What little pitiful thanks you give. And this is something, if we're honest, with the exception of the prophets, every other human being falls short in gratitude. Even the righteous are also, at one point in their life, at least, they could have done more to show appreciation. Let's just say that. No one can worship Allah as Allah deserves. That's what I'm saying. No one can thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the way that He truly deserves, and to the extent and with the amount that He fully deserves. That's the issue. So He's saying, what little thanks you give, and it's worse when someone's a disbeliever. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the tawfiq to give thanks all the time. And then He says, by God, وَلَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ Surely by God we have created you. ثُمَّ صَوَّرْنَاكُمْ, and then shaped you. ثُمَّ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا. Then we said to the angels, prostrate before Adam, and so they did. But not Iblis, illa Iblis. لَمْ يَكُنْ مِنَ السَّاجِدِينَ. He refused to prostrate with the others. Or he wasn't one of those who prostrated. Okay, so he says, by God we have created you, and then we fashioned you. So khalq is to create according to a specific design. We have eyes, we have eyebrows. There's a wisdom for that. Go see people who have burned their eyebrows off or shaved them off. There's something just looks off, right? Noses, mouths, tongues that can sense heat and coolness and taste and our sense of smell, and the way he created the body, just the movements, all the different layers of muscle and tendons that we have, and the rigid bone structure that we have underneath that's able to support our weight, the ribs to protect the internal organs, all of these things. So to create according to a design, it's a gift from Allah. ثُمَّ صَوَّرْنَاكُمْ, and then we fashioned you. And then everyone's unique, everyone is individual. Everyone has different fingerprints, your faces, your voices, your personalities. No two people are exactly the same. All of these gifts from Allah, He said, we did this for you and we did this for you. And we fashioned you, we shaped you. So then we said to the angels, prostrate to Adam. So what He's doing is actually He's talking about the creation of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, and the fashioning of the body of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. But then within that is a gift for us, because if Adam had not been created, we wouldn't have been created. So the creation of Adam on one level is our creation, for us being created. So He's put it like this, so we show appreciation. We can appreciate it and see significance on an individual level for ourselves, but then we can also appreciate the fact that Allah created Adam, and in doing so He created our species. So the blessing applies not only to Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, but every single one of us. And then He says, ثُمَّ صَوَّرْنَاكُمْ, and then we fashioned you and formed you. So this form that we have as human beings is greater than the form of the jinn, right? For example, greater than any animal out there, right? Allah, not only is it the inward, the outward, but also the inward, the potential that the human being has. And when Allah, as we saw in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah told the angels that I'm going to create a being with these qualities, and then they said, He said, I'm putting a Khalifa on earth, and Adam, and He told them about him. And then they said, are you going to put someone there, who, meaning the species now, that someone who's going to cause corruption and shed blood? He said, I know what you don't know. So then He taught Adam alayhi salatu wasalam about the realities of all things and all the names. And He then Allah showed the angels these things and identified them. Tell me their names. They said, we don't know. We only know what you know. We only know what you've allowed us to know, what you've taught us. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who had taught Adam, made Adam mention these things. So the virtue of Adam was manifest on them. Then He said to them, prostrate. And then there's some verses that say we created Adam and told you to prostrate. So you don't have to give every single detail in a blow by blow account every single time. So relevant details are mentioned in one surah, omitted in another surah, and then those relevant details that fit that surah best are mentioned, which are not mentioned elsewhere. That's how the Quran works. So He said, ثُمَّ, and then moreover, even greater than that, there's that blessing. And then He honored Adam. He said, we said to the angels, many angels, usjudu li Adam, prostrate yourselves to Adam. So it was a proper sajda, but the sajda that we do is a sajda of worship. They did a sajda of veneration and honoring, just like the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam did for him. In our Sharia, that's haram. So that's not allowed, but the angels, for them it was a command. They prostrated to Adam. Illa Iblis, and we know from Surah Al-Kahf that Iblis is one of the jinn. Some of the ulama said that the jinn are a species, a type of angel. Allah knows best, but it seems like The jinn are an individual species, just like humans are. And Iblis was of them, and his long years of worship gained him a favorable position. But Allah knew what was happening in his heart. He thought he was better. The arrogance was creeping into him. He didn't check himself. He didn't stop himself. He just continued. And then pretty soon what you get is people start acting in a petty way, with petty behaviors, and he manifested this. And then when Allah commanded the angels to prostrate to Adam, lam yakun min as-sajidin, he certainly was not. He didn't become of those who prostrated, those who were famous and known for their prostration to Adam. He didn't join them. He didn't become them, one of them. So let's stop here, and we'll carry on from this point then, inshaAllah ta'ala. We'll take it from here. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.